So look, let's talk about the rebellion, because it actually is much larger than what it seemed at first glance, right?
Yes, so, you know, I'm a former senior whip, and there's an old thing, which is at the end of the day, go through the division list, because often the division lists, when you analyse them, tell a story. So what happened today? The government won, but they were always going to win. That was hardly a surprise, because the Labour Party had... Well, Keir Starmer offered to back it before he even knew what it was. Yeah. So that tells you quite a lot about, you know, Keir Starmer remains a Remainer and always will, in my view. So, 22 Conservative MPs voted against today, and I can come on to explain why in a moment. 48 other Tory MPs abstained. So 70 Conservative members of Parliament didn't back the SI on the Stormont break in the division lobbies. That's a pretty big number.
Isaac Levido, who is, of course, not someone that the public know, but a bigwig when it comes to electoral strategy.
Absolutely.
Recently said that the only way that the Conservative Party can win the next election is if there's unity. Now, even though I completely agree with this rebellion, I think the people who rebelled are the honourable Brexiteers. That's my personal opinion. You cannot deny, Mark, that this has sparked a new civil war in your party. Look at who rebelled. I mean, you've got three former leaders, IDS, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson. This is a new Brexit civil war, is it not?
No, forgive me, Dan. I think civil war's a bit strong. What happened today was there was a vote in the House of Commons on the statutory instrument about whether or not to implement the Stormont break. And 70 Tory MPs didn't vote for that. Compared to some of the events of the last few years, that is not civil war. That's not even a skirmish. But why I think it is important is why didn't those MPs support the break? We're always limited for time in TV interviews, but very quickly, the problem with the break is it was billed to us and many others as a veto.
It was oversold.
It completely was. Why?
Very Sunak.
Well, look, very quickly.
But it was, wasn't it? Well, it was Sunak who sold it, and he oversold it.
Well, I think some of the people around him were mainly responsible for the overselling. To use a medieval phrase, I think the king was badly advised.
OK, well, look, let's have a look at what he's said tonight about the vote, and I'll get you to respond.
Sure.
There was incredibly strong support for the Windsor Framework, not just from my own party, but across Parliament. It passed very solidly with Conservative votes, and that's because it is a good deal. It is a good deal for the people, for families, for businesses in Northern Ireland. The Windsor Framework restores the balance of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. It secures Northern Ireland's place in our union. It restores sovereignty, and for all those reasons, I'm pleased that it commanded such strong support.
So, Mark, let's be very frank about where Sunak stands when it comes to the ERG. He says you're irrelevant now. His people are briefing to the newspapers over the weekend that the ERG doesn't matter, that he doesn't give a damn that you're not backing this bill because he's going to force it through with the moderates in his party. And tonight, he makes it pretty clear that he isn't worried about the rebellion.
So I don't want to sound like I'm splitting hairs. It's not a bill. It was a statutory instrument. The government could have gone for a bill, a Windsor Framework bill, in order to bring these things in via primary legislation.
Of course, but the Stormont break is indicative of who would have voted for or against.
Well, they've chosen to do it via a variety of statutory instruments. One thing that your viewers might like to know is today was the first one. There could be up to a dozen more. So we could be going through this on multiple occasions.
But how do you feel about what his people are saying about the ERG? You're irrelevant, he says. Now, I don't believe that for a single second. I think the ERG have a great heritage, and without the ERG, we wouldn't have the Brexit that we have today. But Sunak and his people think you no longer matter, that you're on the fringes of the Conservative Party.
Point one, I haven't heard the Prime Minister say that. I've been in politics long enough to say, people are briefing on behalf of X.
But you must have read the stories over the weekend, though.
Yes, but we've been being told we're irrelevant for years. If we're that irrelevant, what am I doing on your show now?
Well, I don't think you're irrelevant for a single second.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully your viewers don't either.
And clearly Boris Johnson and Liz Truss don't either.
And not IDS or Jacob Rees-Mogg or Andrea Jenkins or all these other people, or John Redwood or or Peter Bone and all these other people that you... So
the ERG fights on?
I think the ERG will continue, in a sense. Let me put it like this. Our job is to hold the government's feet to the fire on Europe-related issues. If you like, our job is to keep them honest. Now, they might see it slightly differently from that. But what happened today was 70 Conservative MPs did not support this desire for the Stormont break. I could go through all the...
so the death of the ERG is greatly exaggerated.
I think that's probably fair to say.